Good morning, everyone. Allow me to introduce Dr. Anurag Agnihotri, an accomplished academician and researcher with an impressive educational background, holding degrees in MCOM, LLB, MPhil, UGC NET, and PhD with vast knowledge and expertise in various areas. Dr. Agnihotri has made significant contribution to the academic and corporate world. Dr. Agnihotri's accomplishments include the publication of 5 books and 36 research papers, showcasing a deep commitment to knowledge dissemination. Recognized for his excellence in teaching, he has been accredited as a management teacher by AIMA, All India Management Association. His dedication to continuous learning and professional development is evident from his participation in faculty development programs at prestigious institutions like IIM, Kozhikode, where he specialized in SAPM, Strategic Analysis and Policy Management, and derivative financial derivation instruments. Dr. Agnihotri has also played a pivotal role in the growth of various educational and corporate entities. He has served as a resource faculty for INSET program for PGT organized by SERT, KB Kendra Vidyalaya Sangathan, and contributed as on risk management and policy framework for several companies.
Okay.
Profession in multiple
अब कुछ नहीं करना है, और पीना नहीं है बिल्कुल इसको। अच्छा, अभी मतलब इतना भर जाएगा, उसका वेट को कर देना।
Life and others.
अभी ये दो ये चेंज किया आपने,
दो ये चेंज किया और दो
incubation center.
ये भी चेंज होते रहेंगे जब जब इसको करेंगे।
नहीं, ये चेंज होते हैं 1.5 साल बाद चेंज होते हैं।
या वो रेड वाले में तो एक ही होता था, एक ही
रेड वाले में
multiple
ये अंदर वाले काम हो, ये चलो होता रहता है,
वो तो चलो चलता रहता है।
अब कितना होगा?
It's an inspiring record of guiding 270 PG projects.
950 होंगे।
950 बहुत ज्यादा है यार।
ये ज्यादा इसलिए बना है क्योंकि जो बीच वाले फिल्टर है ना,
Now I would like to invite Dr. Agnihotri to continue with today's session.
उसमें मतलब कि वो डिपेंड करता है क्वांटिटी के
ऊपर। Nice, you have said very nice word about me.
थोड़ा महंगा पड़ेगा क्या कहती है?
His mic is open. He does not know that.
ये जो है ना, ये तो
So please mute. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So Komal, you have said very nice word about me. But I don't think that I'm that qualified to have those words. Many people who are here, including Nitya, has much more qualities than me, and they are more knowledgeable in that field. Okay. So as Nitya asked me, sorry, Nitya is my classmate, so I call him Nitya only. Huh? So others who are saying him Nityananda, that is, please don't mind on that kind. Yeah? So Nitya asked me that, Dr. Anurag bhai, कुछ हमारे panel पे group पे बोलो. So I said, okay, I will do it. But as many of you are from the law background and from CS background, so you have done a lot on the finance field and the marketing field, and you studied a lot of it. I think somebody named Harsh, please mute yourself. Yeah. So what happens that you have studied a lot of things in the present context. What we call it the Western education. You have done a lot on that. I have also studied over a period of 35 years, plus I will say. But very recently, I was going through a book which was launched by one of the professor of Shraddhanand College, who was retired long back. So then I remember that I was reading something during my doctorate in the archives of the BHU. My doctorate is there from Banaras only. So I again started reading those books, and then I find out that why we are worshipping the Western education system, whereas a lot is there in our own system, even on the economy in France, even on the markets. Since then, I have started studying and I have turned towards this side. It does not mean that I have left my law and other things. I'm practicing still all those subjects. But my studies has gone long on this field and I'm working more on that. Because the young generation, they are now only knows that economics means, a father of economics means Adam Smith. Whereas, if you study the India and Indian culture, Indian ethics, you will find that we were very, very rich even before these Britishers and Europeans know anything about the market and economy, etc. And this is being said to you by none other than a foreign author, economic historian Angus Maddison, who says that in 1704, India was having the more than 24% of the global GDP, and by 1770, they were having 28% of the global GDP. It means we were the one third of the total economy of the globe. But when the Britishers has left us, we were just 0.06% of the global GDP. How this has happened? We have heard and studied in the history that India used to be called as the golden word or the Sone ki chidiya. How that all has happened? Is it just a myth? It is just a story or something else? So when you read this Angus Maddison's article, you will find that he writes that we Indians were the net exporter at that time. We were exporting the world best quality of spices, and nobody in the world was knowing how to cook the meat and etc., how to use the spices. It was we who were taught them by our transport, by going to those countries. We were the best in the shipping industry in the world at that time. Anyone, if you would visited the South India and seen the temples there, if you see the Gopuram of those temples and the main gates of those temples, you will find that more than 10 to 15 ton stone, beautifully crafted, is kept around 1 kilometer height. Just imagine how that stone has went to that height and established. How these old, you can take the Kedarnath temple and other temples and other buildings, they have not fallen due to earthquake, due to flood. Whereas recently built, very good architect, very good material used in the bridges, buildings, they collapse in the flood. But these are not, these old buildings are not collapsing. Why? What was the reason? There must be some architecture behind that. And that we forgotten. We were exporting, regarding the cotton industry and the garment industry. British Queen once asked that, king, at that time, and he asked why we have only this cotton and silk coming from the east. Why not we are getting it from our own country? Then their coteries said that it is due to the best quality. And how we become the golden world because we were exporting, and in return we are not getting the goods from there. Rather, we are bringing the gold from that. And that gold was stored in India. And you can imagine that Nadir Shah, Ahmad Shah Abdali, and Man Taimur and many people has looted us. But still, we have got, if you compile all the gold in the domestic sector, you will find we are the one of the highest reserves we are having even that. So that is what we have done. We were having at that time. So we need to go back to those era, and we need to find out that how this whole economics has used and how this economy has developed. You all are free to ask the questions after 5 minutes, whatever you feel like, because there are the certain words which we do not use in normal days. So I will be using those from the Sanskrit and the Niti Shastra, Dharma Shastra. So they may not be that familiar to you. So anytime you feel, you can ask that. So when you talk about the economics, we do not have any such word in the Sanskrit. Our Indian vernacular languages, local languages, we have the Sanskrit term use earth, Mimamsa, Dhana Shastra, Artha Shastra, Vrata Shastra. So the Artha Shastra and Vrata Shastra are having specific meaning with regard to economics and with regard to business, which we have today, which we discussed today in today's parlance. In the classical times, economics had not emerged as a subject which can be differentiated from the other things. Economics was a part of the politics only. So it was a king's domain where he finds that how to do it. And why the Indian economy was richer at that time? Because we were believing the Brata. Brata is imports and export, Abrata and Brata. So Brata is nothing other than a Briti, which is a profession. If you see, even today, just hardly 30, 40 years, 50 years back, this profession word has been found out and specialized by the Western world, I think in around 70s. But in our ancient time, Brata and Briti was there, and they are used to be in wide and in narrow sense both. Occupation of science are branched of knowledge which are dealing with the specialized occupational subjects are known as Brati, and whereas the Brata is extended towards the agriculture, cattle rearing, trade, which constitute the Brata. So when you discuss it further, it also extends itself to the grain, cattle, gold, forest products, and free labor. It is the king, it is whose duty at that time to develop a treasury and the army, which is purely and purely obtained by the Brata, and the king is able to hold on the control both on the subjects and his enemy. So it is a duty of king to have the treasury. It means they should have a good fund and they should have good army so that they can develop. Then if you go through the Sukraniti, and Sukraniti has explained the word Brata as it is that money lending, agriculture, commerce, and we feel that the commerce has been given to us by the Britishers. And the cattle, so the students should know these things. Commerce and the cattle production are comprised in Brata. So if you divide in now the Brata, it has four meaning. One is agriculture, commerce is the second, cattle production, and the money lending, it means the finance. So Brata is basically having the four functions: agriculture, commerce, it means trade and business, cattle production, and then the money lending financing. Now, what was the attitude towards the wealth of our Indian people at that time? When you analyze the Sukraniti and Arthashastra, and then this modern conception of the wealth, you will reveal that the 4 characteristics. Number 1, wealth must be materialistic, means you can say it is consumable, it is appropriable, and it is transferable. So the root idea behind the ancient Indian conception of the wealth is that it must have material quality, it must be appropriability, and its acquisition, it is not being identical with the gold, its consumability and attractiveness due to the scarcity. Now, it was not that the similar thoughts have been found in Indian culture or Indian ethics, Indian books. This was even supported at that time by the Greek economic thoughts also. So if you, and in our jurisprudence, we study a lot of the Greeks, and even our law, let it be in CS or LLB or LLM, we have studied a lot of these Greek words. So the Plato was the one of the philosopher who has written things which are parallel to certain extent to Indian economists of that time. So when you want to compare the India's economic thoughts with that of the Greek, and there could be found some of the differences. Greek economy thoughts were its simplicity, its confusion of public and private economy, and that is why you know today that Greek doesn't exist, because this was the problem with the Greek thoughts. They mix up economics, ethics, and politics. Its ascetic tendency and its sociological trend. Whereas when you see the India, our economic thoughts, its opulence rather than its poverty, its complexity rather than simplicity. Confusion of public and private economy was not there in India. Tendency to socialism which arose in Greece from the escalation of the state, which have no clear parallel in ancient India. We do not have any such thing that something the state will do it. A state is the supreme. No, in India, the supreme state was never the supreme. And I would like to tell you that when you study the Ramayana and Bharat, you all know that he went to the jungle and asked the Bhagwan Ram that what should we do and how to govern the Ayodhya in your absence, what you want to guide us. He said, Bhagwan Ram, कि आपको उसी तरह से रेवेन्यू लेना चाहिए, टैक्स लेना चाहिए, जिस तरह से समुद्र नदियों से, पोखरों से, जलाशयों से पानी लेता है और उस पानी को उसके बाद बादल बना के वापस बांस बना के पृथ्वी पर छोड़ देता है। तो राजा कभी भी ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए। इवन इसी थॉट को बसंत साठे, आप में से कुछ लोग हैं मेरी उम्र के, तो अगर आपने योजना मैगजीन पढ़ी होगी अपने टाइम में, तो देयर यूज्ड टू बी वन फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर इन इंडिया, मिस्टर बसंत साठे। उनका एक आर्टिकल हुआ करता था, टैक्सेशन, tax without tears, means when you are taking a tax, it should not be penalty in nature, and the people should not have tears. So the similar lines has been given in the Sukraniti, which was later produced in the Leicester Greek economists. Then in 1923, there is a book called A History of Greek Economic Thoughts. University of Chicago में है वो book. So that book also reflects this. यदि यदि न श्रेयास्पत्ति सम्यक नेता ततः प्रजा अकर्णधारा बलवृद्धि प्रवेद ही नैरेव प्रजन्याय विभूतानाम आधारा पृथ्वीपति विकले ही प्रजापति जीवन्ते न भूपतो। मतलब इसका यह है कि राजा जो है वो उतना ही ले, राजा को बलवान होना चाहिए, लेकिन राजा कितना भी बलवान हो उसे प्रजा के भले के लिए काम करना चाहिए, और भले के लिए उसके पास पैसा होना चाहिए, ट्रेजरी होनी चाहिए, और साथ में एक स्ट्रॉन्ग आर्मी होनी चाहिए जिससे कि अपनी पृथ्वी की वो रक्षा कर सके। अब मैं एक और डोमेन को इसी में टच करूंगा, विच इज द पब्लिक फाइनेंस। जब आप पब्लिक फाइनेंस की बात करते हो तो गवर्नमेंट ऑलवेज, अभी जो मैंने आपको रेवेन्यूज की बात की, फाइनेंसेस furnaces in the ancient India, and they give you a meeting point where the politics, ethics, and economics, these three pillars of the governance, meet together. The Indian theories explain that all the human effort should be directed towards the goals set by dharma. Means जो धर्म कहता है, धर्मे रक्षति धर्म धर्म, सो धर्म जो कहे वो आप काम करें. So they were saying that the existence of the government maintain the harmonious relationship between the people and the government. And what are happening today, that the government and the people doesn't have the harmonious relationship. You find any leader is a big leader when there is a harmonious relationship. You have an example of the Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, and today you have got the example of Narendra Modi Sahab. Modi Sahab has basically established a harmonious relationship between the people and the government. At least we can have a contrary view on that, on other things also. But at least I will say, on the face of it, he has established it. And the result is that there is some peace is existing in the society. Although we are having something happening in our northeast state, that is another part of the story. So but our focus is today on the Indian ancient economy, so I am focusing on that only. The stress is laid upon the necessity of the state, involve a corresponding emphasis on the obligation of the people to support sovereign authority, whatever its form. Means it is the king, because of him you get everything. So it is your duty to obey him. But there must be a reasonable deduction from the premises by which contributions made by any citizen or any person to the state should be deemed to be taxed only when they were collected for use of beneficial ways, not for squandering away by tyrannical government. ये आप क्लियर के डिफरेंस देखिए. अर्थशास्त्र में, which is written by the Chanakya Vishnugupta, who says that state should only collect the tax in the benefit of the public, not for their own benefit. And if they do it, then it is something loot. Now, one more part. In commerce, we study the type of revenue, capital revenue, and the capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. So on that also, Arthashastra has differentiated between the forms of revenue, which are not according to their incidence. मतलब वो जैसे होते वैसा नहीं है. Rather, it is according to the source. So we all have done the income tax, and income tax में incidence of tax lie on the source. So that was the Arthashastra. So revenue is either derived from the land, which is known as Prithiva, and derived from the sources other than land is Apravita. So either it is Prithiva or it is Aprativa. तो या तो आप धरती से ले रहे हैं या धरती के बाहर से ले रहे हैं. Under farmer comes contribution of crown's land, which is known as bali. ये जो बलि होती थी वो राजा को मिलती थी. So land revenue paid by the private owners was known as bhaga. So these were the 4 sources. Number 1 was the land sources other than land. Number 2, crown's land, यानी जो राजा की जमीन होती थी उससे जो आ रहा है. Then land revenue paid by the private owners, यानी bhaga. And then there was one more tax or the revenue of the government, that was the tree tax. It was a 1/6 of the fruits tree. अभी आप देखिए आपके ऊपर जो land tax लगता है, that is uniform. But whereas in the Arthashastra, the land tax and the tree tax is based on the farm produce, cultivable. If it is a cultivable land, better land, fertile land, there will be more tax, 1/6. Otherwise, it is less than that. So likewise, the tax used to be taken. And then the reference of the taxes also we have in the Manusmriti. The problem lies with our generation. I'm not saying to the younger ones. Our generation means my generation. That we have never tried to look back to our ancient literature. And that is why we are narrow in our knowledge many times. And then we are learning many things which we should not learn from the WhatsApp university, where something is coming and we do not, and because we have not studied our own literature. So somebody says that this written in the Manusmriti or this written in Ramayana, this is Mahabharata, we agree. Because we ourselves have not studied that. So I will request our young friends that you must study all this, because then only we can develop. And for this purpose, we have got a new website where we discuss Indian knowledge system. So a lot of books are there, you people can go through and study from there. So the Manusmriti, I was saying, Manusmriti says that amount of land tax might range from 12 to 1/6 of the produce. Correct proportion being determined as pointed out by Kaluka. Kulka was the nature of the soil and labor necessary to cultivate. Even in the Mahabharata, if you say it was 1/10 to 1/6, according to Kautilya, the normal rate of land revenue should be 1/6. But lower rate admissible to the land which is not properly cultivated. So this was the system in India regarding the land. And we people are saying that, sorry, sir, Hamid, we do not know. Now, I will discuss one more important topic of the economics, which is a value. We all are here sitting who are CS and advocates practicing in finance field. And to find out the value is the most important part of all of us. So we're discussing now exchange and distribution. And here I'm going to discuss more from the Kautilya and the Shukraniti. And anyone who wants to know these things in detail, I can share the book, which is the Ancient Economic Thoughts. And this book is available in hard copy, which is not issued. So you can use a soft copy. I have that soft copy, or you can use the Indian knowledge system. There also it is given. And this is Professor Sinal, who has written in his book. In 1927, he written this book. It is very, very good book. And I am amazed to see the data, amazed to see the information when I was doing PhD and I studied this book. And but that time I have not gone through in detail, but only during last 5 years, just before the COVID, I have started working on this. So And why this value, a calculation of value and exchange is important? Because in today's business, we all have everything on the economics, in the value. So if you go through the modern economics, so modern economics is regarded as the exposition of the theory of value. And we say that the Adam Smith and others has basically helped us, and Marshall has helped us to find out the demand and supply. You have studied the law of demand. When the prices goes up, demand goes down. And when the demand goes up, prices goes down, vice versa, inverse relationship. But I will give you today that this was explained in the Shukra Niti. Okay, so let me go through on that lines, so that you can first value, then I will go to the demand side of it. Nitya, please let me know when I need to stop.
No. So please continue. Yes, as we are getting a very good information from the ancient histories, and also we never gone through. Yes, certainly, such a great knowledge we are having.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah.
So that is what I said. Okay, we will discuss Indian knowledge system, because Baki pe to you have a lot of people to speak, and the students also have good knowledge on that. So let us whatever happening in the economy. Okay.
Yes, sir,
so
correct.
So I discuss what is value. We always find out the value of the share is, and it is undervalued. The assets is undervalued or overvalued. So how this value Indian economist has drawn, how the Arthashastra and Kautilya has talked about it, how the Shukra is the, when we talk about Shukra, it is the same Acharya Shukracharya. He has written it. So you can understand how old we are talking about. It is not just 200 or 300 years back. We are talking about 1,000 years back. So you can go through the Upanishad and Shukra Niti and Niti Shastra and Arthashastra. I will say these 3-4 books, you people who are in economics and finance must study it, because ultimately we talk about the good corporate governance. So what should be the good corporate governance? It cannot be according to the West style. It has to be according to us, because we have got a different set of problems and they have got a different set of problems. So their solution cannot be our solutions. So I'm coming back to my point. So among all these thinkers, we know that the Kautilya and Shukra and many Smritis were written by different rishis. I call them now professors. Shukra has laid down the first thought on the price, which we call it mulya. Ki mulya kya hai? So he said, the mulya is what is paid in terms for acquiring an article. Sale of goods act में price की definition ये दी हुई है, जो मैंने अभी भी आपको कही. The price is what is paid in terms of money for acquiring an article, यानी कोई भी चीज खरीदने के लिए. The second he says that the prices are high or low according to as articles are obtainable with or without difficulty. यानी अगर वो आर्टिकल ऐसा है जिसका इजीली मिल जाएगा तो सस्ता है, मुश्किल में मिलेगा तो डिफिकल्ट, तो प्राइस ज्यादा होगा. This is what happening with the tomato nowadays. टमाटर आपको मिल नहीं रहा, खराब हो गया. That is why it is happening. Then he extended further that according to as articles are obtainable with or without difficulty. Further he says that as they possess or do not possess a utility. जिस चीज में यूटिलिटी यानी उपयोगिता है वो महंगा, जिसमें नहीं है वो सस्ता. अब आप में से कोई आदमी अगर इसको जानना चाहे तो इस शुक्र नीति में लिखा हुआ है, एंड दिस सेज एन वेनेन संसिदा तदत त्यजस्त मूल्यकम. जो जितना डिफिकल्ट होगा उसका पैसा उतना ही आपको ज्यादा देना पड़ेगा. Then every article which has utility need not be valuable. आपकी यूटिलिटी है लेकिन वैल्यूएबल नहीं है. क्यों? Scarcity is also the necessity cause of the demand value. अब हमने डिमांड में पढ़ा हुआ है कि डिजायर और डिमांड में डिफरेंस. अब कंपेयर कर लीजिए, वही लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे। तो शुक्र नीति में इतने साल पहले लिखा हुआ ये, those articles which are priced high in the world, which are rare. So the influence of the time and the factor of the value is understood. That is why the antique item has got more value as compared to which are the new one. So he lays down the maxim for the guidance of the governments and traders who have to fix the prices. तो price कौन fix करता था? Traders and kings. It was not the public who were fixing it. So Sukra says in one of his writings that one should fix a price according to the time and place. Why he says so? Because he says that if something is need to be provided to the poor, it must be cheaper. So variation in price he always say. So उनका जो एक श्लोक है, उसके एक लाइन, he says न मूल्यम गुणहीनस्य व्यवहारक्षमस्य च, अगर गुणहीन है तो उसका मूल्य नहीं हो सकता। रत्नभूतम तूतकः यस्यात् यद्य प्रतिमा भव, कुछ ऐसा रत्न है जिसकी वैल्यू हो सकती है, वो उसकी आप वैल्यू देंगे आप उस चीज को। अब उसके बाद वो बात करते हैं सेकंड पार्ट, प्राइस हो गया साहब, अगले बात करते हैं डिमांड फॉर द कमोडिटीज। He says that the prices, the variation in prices, the prices change will come only due to demand factor. He says that if there is a leading to a rise in demand with a fall in price, or a fall in demand with the rise in price, law of demand आपने पढ़ा है, it is exactly the same which I am saying right now, and I am repeating it again. Demand for the commodities in accordance with the variation in the prices leading to a rise in demand with a fall in price, यानी अगर price गिरेगा तो demand बढ़ेगी, and a fall in demand with a rise in price. So Sukra's warning was that not to forget that in sales consideration of high, low and middle prices are important. So if we go through the doctrine of Sukra, which he discussed, he says that the value, while you determining the value of a product, so the cost of production as determining the supply. Number two, he says the demand for an article as determined by utility and the power of satisfying the wants. These are also implied in the rules of the Kautilya for fixing the price. यानी जो शुक्र ने कहा वही कौटिल्य ने भी कहा, superintendent of the commerce, that superintendent of the commerce shall be conversant with the conditions of high and low prices and quick and slow sellability of various kind of goods, whether brought in country by land route or water route. आप देखिए, when the Britishers came, or I will say before even the Mughals came, in India, we were having a very good trade through the sea and the river routes, and the waterways we were having. Vijayanagaram and many other kingdoms you were having at that time. But later part of these, when the Britishers came and we lost all this, and you can imagine when the world does not have this, I will say, even the university and the schools, we were having 5, 6 best universities in the world. And it is being said that when this, I just forgot the name, I think Ahmad Sabdali, when he came to India, he has put Takshashila library on fire. वहां इतनी किताबें थी कि 6 महीने तो आग जलती रही। तो आप सोचिए कि what was the knowledge level we have at that time. But during our slavery position for almost 500 years, we have forgot everything. Lord Macaulay has written in a letter to his father that if we need to rule India, we need to create British Indians who should consider British as the first country, not the India. And for that purpose, we need to remove 2 things from the India. One, the Brahmins. When I say Brahman, it is not by caste. Brahmans here means the people who are practicing the dharma, who are writings, who are working on the education system. It means acharyas, and the Indian knowledge system. These two things he said we need to remove. If we do not remove, then it will not be. You should imagine a situation, and this is written by one of the philosophers in his book when he visited India. I think it was Ghanshyam, and when he visited Ganga, he seen that there is a huge crowd. He asked one translator that why this crowd and what is happening. So he said that it is a kumbh. So he said how the people came to know that there is a kumbh and here people need to have a bath, dip in this Ganga river, this river, and how and on what date it will happen. Then he said that, sir, there is a patra in which it is written. And so he said, everybody read it. Yes, sir, wo Pandit padhta hai. So he said, who is that person? He went to meet one person who was making these patras, etc. And he find that ये गरीब कुटिया में रहने वाला आदमी है, he knows everything. So that was the knowledge system. And that time, the professors and people, they were not working for the money, rather they were working more for the knowledge. But now the things have changed. Even this industry has become the commercialized. I'm not against earning the money, but I am against earning the money with the wrong means. So the demand for articles are determined in that by the demand bonds. तो कौटिल्य जी की जब मैं बात करता हूं तो कौटिल्य साहब कहते हैं कि ये जो सुप्रीडेंट है या ये राजा का जो वजीर होना चाहिए या जो राजा का मिनिस्टर है, he must have knowledge कि कहां पे quick and slow goods move करनी चाहिए, so that proper supply होनी चाहिए, appropriate time पे appropriate supply must be there. Now the same thing, if you go through the Manusmriti, in Manusmriti also the same thing is explained. So and that is the cost of production. आज बड़ी बात होती ना farmers को उनकी cost का सही price देना. So what the Manusmriti says about the cost of production? Manusmriti says that the cost of production that is inferred from the presence of such ideas and the causes of value is to be found in other ancient work. So Manusmriti, in dealing with the principle which should guide the king in fixing the rate to duty to be paid by the traders, lays down that the rate should be determined after careful consideration of the prices paid originally for article. यानी सबसे पहले जब आपने उस बिजनेस जो ट्रेडर है उसने सामान खरीदा, उसने कितने का खरीदा और फिर उसका सेल प्राइस क्या है, उसमें कॉस्ट ऑफ कन्वेंस जोड़ दीजिए, रिटेलिंग है तो नेट प्रॉफिट ऑफ ट्रेडर जोड़ दीजिए, देन उसके एक्सपेंडिचर घटा दीजिए, एंड और वो उसमें लिखते हैं कि सुलभा सुलभत्वात् अगुणता अगुणवत् शब्दया. ये मनुस्मृति में आप अगर पढ़ेंगे तो वहां पे ये चीजें लिखी हुई हैं. तो मैं उसमें संस्कृत में और ज्यादा नहीं जा रहा हूं, ठीक है. सो अब देखिए क्या कहते हैं मनुस्मृति में कि देखिए सबसे पहले मान लीजिए मिस्टर एक्स ने कोई गुड्स बनाई, उस गुड्स को मिस्टर वाई ने कितने में खरीदा, वो उसका प्राइस. अब ये कितने का बेचना चाहिए, इसका कन्वेंस की कॉस्ट और इसका प्रॉफिट. अब अगर ये रिटेलर को बेचता है तो रिटेलर ने उसमें कोई यूटिलिटी क्रिएट की है तो उस यूटिलिटी की कॉस्ट प्लस उसका प्रॉफिट. अगर यूटिलिटी क्रिएट नहीं करी तो केवल उसका प्रॉफिट. अगर ये है, दैट शुड बी द प्राइस. वंस एवरी, एंड दूसरा ये जो प्राइस है वो हर 5 नाइट्स में यानी 5 रातों में और at least once in a fortnight must be revisited by the दैट सुपरिटेंडेंट ऑफ द किंग, ऐसा नहीं कि एक बार प्राइस फिक्स कर दिया वो हो गया फिक्स, तो बाजार में उस प्राइस को हर 15 दिनों के अंदर, यानी हर पक्ष लिखा हुआ है उसमें। आपको पता है कि हिंदू महीनों में कृष्ण पक्ष और शुक्ल पक्ष होता है, तो आप कृष्ण पक्ष और शुक्ल पक्ष में एटलीस्ट उसको रिवाइज करें। मनुस्मृति राजा को आगे बताता है कि टू फिक्स द रेट फॉर परचेज एंड सेल ऑफ ऑल मार्केटेबल गुड्स ओनली आफ्टर कंसीडरिंग देयर ओरिजिन, डेस्टिनेशन, length of time for which they have remained in stock, probable profit of the middleman and outlay already incurred in acquiring them. अब आप आज की तारीख में समझ लीजिए, आज में हम कॉस्टिंग ऐसे निकलते हैं। पॉलीकैब ने एक तार का बंडल कितने का मैन्युफैक्चर किया, उसकी वर्किंग कैपिटल कितने दिनों तक ब्लॉक रही, वो जो गुड्स उसने बेची कितने दिनों में पैसा वापस आएगा, so financing in that, so that cost will be added to that. Then out, अगर आपने किसी और को बेचा मिडिलमैन का तो उसकी कॉस्ट। सो आज जो काम हम करते हैं that is very well written in मनुस्मृति। तो अब आप देखिए, आज की तारीख हम बात करते हैं एब्सोल्यूट एंड रिलेटिव प्राइसेस। हिसाब इकोनॉमिक्स में वी शुड कंसीडर अबाउट द relative interest rate, relative purchasing power parity और absolute purchasing power parity, इंटरनेशनल फाइनेंस में पढ़ा हमने। सो शुक्र नीति का जो काम है और बुद्धिस्ट लिटरेचर, इन दोनों में absolute and relative prices की बात हुई है। So he said that if only the data of these sources can be determined, the data can be used for comparison between the purchasing power of money in different periods. So the economic advantage of both internal and external trade are duly recognized. Organization of the caste and guild led not only the localization of the industry at that time, but to creation of the special local market for the sale of products. अब ये मनुस्मृति के 127th श्लोक एंड 7th पार्ट में लिखा हुआ है, वे विक्रम ध्वानाहं भक्तम च सपर्व्यम योगक्षेमं संप्रच्य जो दापेत करान। तब उसी को जो मैंने अभी कहा आपको, आगम निर्गम विस्थानम तथा प्रत्यक्ष वो विचार सर्वपाण्याना कार्यते क्रय विक्रय। याज्ञवल्क्य संहिता जो है उसमें भी इसी चीज को एक्सप्लेन किया है। तो आप ये देखिए कि हमारे देश में हमारे जो पुराने ग्रंथ हैं उन्होंने हमारे इकोनॉमिक्स के बारे में बहुत कुछ लिखा हुआ है। अगर हम उन सभी चीजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें, वी विल फाइंड कि ये एक अच्छा खासा हमारे लिए काम हो सकता है। और जब हम आज मॉडर्न इकोनॉमिक्स को, मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री को पढ़ते हैं तो वी कैन कंटिन्यू टू गो इन दैट डायरेक्शन। अब कौटिल्य हैज that this is my last because 12:30 I need to leave. So Kautilya prohibits the exportation of armor, arms, war chariot and animals and grain. वो कहते हैं कि आप आर्मर मत बेचिए, अपने हथियार मत बेचिए, यानी आर्म्स, लड़ाई में यूज होने वाले रथ मत बेचिए, एनिमल एंड अनाज मत बेचिए। He mentioned these specifically among articles those exported is interdicted on the public grounds. यानी अगर आप ये करते हो तो आप अपनी पब्लिक के अगेंस्ट जा रहे हो। The value attached to the position of these articles is shown by their importation being free of custom duty. वो एक तो क्या कहते हैं, ये एक्सपोर्ट मत करो, तभी करो जब आपकी जनता के अगेंस्ट ना हो, और दूसरा इंपोर्ट करो अगर ये चीजें तो उनके ऊपर कोई ड्यूटी ना लगाओ, so that अच्छी चीजें आपके देश में आ सकें। So general principle governing the foreign trade at that time is that exclusion of articles which would injure and endanger the kingdom, whereas allow those who will put your kingdom in the more secure. So in our ancient time, use of the coins were used as a medium of exchange, and you nowadays if you go through back, हम तो जब इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी सिस्टम पढ़ते हैं तो we say before 1857 there was two types of coins, But when you go to the Indian history and you go back to the Sindhu, Indus Valley civilization, and after that, and even if you go to the different kings' time, you will find that the silver and gold and the bronze coins were there at that time. So the medium of exchange के लिए we used to using these coins. Okay. So at last, thank you to all for listening me. Although this is not that interesting topic as you people has other topics.
No, of course it was very interesting. मेरे को तो ये समझ नहीं आता आप तो हमेशा हम इंग्लिश ही बोलते नजर आए, लेकिन आज तो हमने देखा कि आपका संस्कृत का ज्ञान भी बहुत बढ़िया है। जो आपने सारे वेद पुराण और सारी चीजें संस्कृत में बोली है, इट इज वेरी गुड नॉलेज आपने शेयर किया जो यंगस्टर्स के लिए है। जो यंगस्टर्स मानते हैं कि सारा हमने जो है चीजें जो है आप विदेशी संस्कृति से ली है, विदेशों से सब कुछ लिखा गया है, लेकिन आपने जो बताया चीजें उससे ये यंगस्टर्स को पता लगे कि भाई हमारे वेद पुराण में जो चीजें लिखी गई हैं वो बहुत एंशिएंट हैं। आज उन लोगों हमारे वेदों पुराणों से ही अंग्रेजों ने लिया, फिर उसको हमको थोपने की कोशिश की।
बिल्कुल वही चीज है। एक्चुअली मैंने जब मैं पीएचडी करा तब मैंने बीएचयू में एक दिन ये किताब देखी थी, लेकिन यार उस समय पढ़ी नहीं मैंने। ये मैंने बहुत बाद में जब 2019 में आई वाज सिटिंग समवेयर इन कॉन्फ्रेंस इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम पे, वहां पे जब ये बातें हो रही थी मैंने था यार मैंने की देखा है। तो फिर मैंने वापस वहां अपने कुछ मित्रों को कहा कि यार ये कुछ बुक्स हैं आर्काइव में, वहां से उनकी मुझे सॉफ्ट कॉपी भेजो फोटो, एंड देन दे डेवलप्ड एंड देन दे सेंड इट टू मी। चलो ठीक है नित्या भाई,
म्यूट कर दीजिए सभी लोगों को, कर लें। किसकी आवाज आ रही प्लीज म्यूट कर लें। जी भाई प्लीज बोलिए।
तो मैंने उसके बाद ये पढ़ना शुरू किया एंड देन आई सीन के यार इट वाज वेरी गुड एंड वी शुड स्टडी। एंड हम प्रोफेसर्स अगर नहीं पढ़ेंगे तो हम बच्चों को कैसे बताएंगे। अब मान लीजिए मैंने 10 बच्चों को बताया, एक ने भी पढ़ा तो कम से कम एक को तो नॉलेज ट्रांसफर हुई। अभी देखिए इट इज अ गुड साइन मिस कुसुम शर्मा हैज रिक्वेस्टेड अ सॉफ्ट कॉपी। कुसुम जी मैं ये जितनी भी कॉपी है मेरे पास एक दो मैं अपने लैपटॉप को सर्च करके नित्यानंद जी को भेज दूंगा, आप इनसे ले लीजिएगा। ठीक है
ओके सर थैंक यू।
नहीं तो आप ग्रुप में ही शेयर कर दिया, ठीक है मेरे को भेज दीजिएगा, मैं आई विल शेयर विद द ग्रुप।
तो यार एक्चुअली लैपटॉप पे पड़े होंगे ना तो व्हाट्सएप पे कई बार जाती नहीं है।
हाँ ठीक है, से मेरे को ईमेल कर।
व्हाट्सएप पे भेजने के लिए मुझे लैपटॉप से मोबाइल पे लेनी होगी, अब वो लैपटॉप में फोल्डर में रखी होंगी, मैं वहां से ढूंढ के
जी
एक दो दे दूंगा। एक बुक है बड़ी अच्छी बुक है, वो आप लोग पढ़ सकते हैं। सबसे पहले ये बुक है it was a book written in 1923 or 27 I hope, let me see, 1927 में मनिंद्रा चंद्र के लेक्चर के नाम से है और ये बीएचयू में एस्पेक्ट ऑफ एंशिएंट इंडियन इकोनॉमिक थॉट्स के ऊपर है बुक। ये पढ़ी वहां पे है, इसकी सॉफ्ट कॉपी है मेरे पास, मैं आपको भेज दूंगा।
जी भेज दीजिए।
इसके अलावा अपने जो रोमेश चंद बनर्जी साहब थे उनकी एक बुक है बहुत पुरानी, और श्याम सुंदर जी की बड़ी अच्छी बुक है, दैट आल्सो पीपल कैन गो थ्रू। ठीक है, थैंक यू नित्य भाई, परमिशन दो यार।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका, आपने हमें समय दिया और इतनी अच्छी नॉलेज शेयर की। रियली इट इज वंडरफुल। हमारे जितने भी यंगस्टर्स हैं सबको बड़ा ही इस बात का गर्व है कि उन लोगों ने ऐसी बातें जो है जानी। मिस कोमल, आप सर को वोट ऑफ थैंक्स दो। कोमल,
हेलो,
थैंक यू सो मच सर।
अगर किसी को कुछ पूछना है, इफ देयर इज एनी क्वेश्चन, किसी को कुछ पूछना हो तो पूछ लीजिए प्लीज। हमारे डॉक्टर अनुराग जी जो है बहुत अच्छे मित्र हैं और सभी अच्छे नॉलेज रखते हैं और उन्होंने बहुत अच्छी चीजें शेयर की। यस, किसी को कुछ पूछना पूछ लीजिए प्लीज।
मिस रिदम, आई थिंक रिदम कंसल हैज आस्क्ड क्वेश्चन। जो हमारे हिंदू स्क्रिप्चर हैं वो कहते हैं साहब देखो, आप वेल्थ इकट्ठी करो, वेल्थ इकट्ठी करने में कोई समस्या नहीं। वेल्थ इकट्ठी करने के लिए आपको केवल इलीगल मीन्स नहीं अडॉप्ट करने हैं, और दूसरा किसी का खून नहीं चूसना है। आप धंधा करो जितना अच्छा कर सकते हो। अगर धंधा अच्छा नहीं होता तो मौर्यन डायनेस्टी के समय हम ये सोने की चिड़िया नहीं होते। और मौर्यन डायनेस्टी वाज क्रिएटेड बाय चाणक्य, जिनका अर्थशास्त्र है, ठीक है। सेम मनुस्मृति, अभी अभी मैंने कहा कि आप पैसा इकट्ठा करिए, एक्सचेंज है, धंधा करिए, बिजनेस करिए, लेकिन उसके ऊपर कंट्रोल रखिए। ये जो हम आज बात करते हैं कैपिटल क्रोनिज्म, क्रोनी कैपिटल की बात करते हैं, उसके अगेंस्ट है इंडियन कल्चर। सो आप जितना इन्वेस्टमेंट करना चाहते हैं करिए, जितना पैसे इकट्ठा करना चाहते हैं करिए, बट ये दो चीजें ध्यान रखिए बस। एनीबडी एल्स?
थैंक यू सर।
या ओके रतन।
Thank you so much, sir. With this, I would like to thank sir and everyone else who has joined the meeting today. Thank you, Nitya sir, for conducting today's session. Thank you, Anurag sir, for providing us such informative things about the session. Thank you.
थैंक यू कोमल,
Thank-
थैंक यू नित्या भाई।
थैंक्स भाई, आपका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने अपना कीमती समय निकाल करके हम लोगों को इतना अच्छे नॉलेज दिए। सर्टेनली अब एक और भी आपसे समय लेंगे अब अगले एक दो सेशन के लिए, जब भी आप फ्री रहें। थैंक
जी
यू।
भाई,
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू भाई।
नमस्कार सभी साथियों को, नमस्कार।